Welcome to Familiar Territory, an anime podcast hosted by two white dudes who've been friends for over 15 years. Here we talk about the history and influence of anime, as well as review anime new and old. So grab your talking cap and transform into some comfy clothes as we step into a familiar territory. My name is Grant.
And I'm Brantley. Heads up, spoilers on the way. Check the description, see if you're safe to listen. Oh boy. Grant, do you remember when we were actually discussing whether or not this one would become familiar territory or unfamiliar territory?
Yes.
We're kind of like, okay, so here's, Brantley comes in with the pitch. Well, it's kind of an Utena thing. There's swords or fighting, and it's like probably lesbians by the look of it, and like the theatrics and things, and it's it kind of looks like it goes to like sort of a magical thing, but I don't know. And we're like, okay, I'll give it a shot, and now look at us.
Yes.
How many times do you think you said the words, "This show is weird"?
Oh, I talk about the show constantly at work, and I think everybody at work hates me for it. And I always say, "Hey, I'm watching this show," and they're like, "Yeah," and I go, "The show is weird, but in a good way." And then I explain the giraffe, and people are normally on board with it.
You explained the giraffe.
I say the giraffe talks and watches the show with you. And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, gotta check it out to understand. That's a very safe way to spoil a very major part of the
Right?
show thematically, so good work on that. Really stealthing it there. So we finished Shoujo Kageki Revue Starlight. It's all 12 episodes. We still have the movie to go, but we've only got so much time on our hands, and hey, why not separate for a whole nother episode? I think it's safe to say we very much enjoyed this.
Oh, dude, I have okay. So when I finished Yuki Yuna, and I sat in bed that night thinking about all the things it could have done to be better and make a better show, I like tossed and turned thinking about how these characters that I actually kind of liked just kind of sucked.
Mm-hmm.
After I finished Revue Starlight, I tossed and turned looking for a good wallpaper for my computer.
Yuki Yuna and its ending feels kind of like someone from your childhood tells you they're leaving for another school, and you're kind of bummed about it first, but like the more it sits with you, you're not that upset about it. You're just kind of like, well, I guess that's a closed chapter, and you kind of resolve quickly, but it's still sitting in your head because
Yes.
it's just you've been exposed to this person for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Revue Starlight is when your friend goes to another school and you cry forever because, damn, were those memories good memories. So this show is weird.
This show is great. Grant, a quick question.
Yeah.
Would you, if given the chance, go watch this as a stage play? Or
Yeah, I
you not even
would.
bother?
I don't know. So, like, maybe. I really like the music, and if the stage combat's good, yeah, man, that might be fun. But I've done stage combat, and I've done plays where it's like, hey, we're going to be fighting, and it's like, well, you can't really fight that long without sweating, and you also aren't allowed to jump on the rafters and shoot arrows and have them ricochet on these rafters, because that's not physically possible. So it might be a little less interesting. However, I like the music, but I also don't speak Japanese, so it might be a little hard to follow. But I would probably see it as a stage play just because I love the show so much.
Yeah, knowing that this originated as a stage play, right?
Yeah, so I dug a little deeper. It was a stage play first, but it was made, believe it or not, as a multimedia experience. So
this
sort
was
of
planned, yeah.
Sort of like Love Live, which is, it's so weird because this show, along with things like Battle Girl High School and Love Live and The Idol Masters, all started with this idea of creating a cast of characters that are marketable and we can sell everything. And normally that makes a pretty mediocre premise. But this show had the guy that did Utena behind it. And so...
Did it?
I thought so. I thought it was directed by the guy that did Utena.
No, I didn't. Did you hear that from me?
I heard that from Reddit.
Reddit?
Yeah, hold
Fuck
on.
Reddit. No.
Hold on.
All right, I'm checking this out. Nope. Yeah. That's a no.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately.
So I'm an idiot. We can cut that out.
You just trusted Reddit.
I did trust Reddit. But
anyways, when it comes to hearing about this being like a multimedia project, I think it makes all the producers listed make a lot more sense.
Yes.
'Cause, boy, there's a lot of producers on this show. Like, this was like one animation studio, Kinema Citrus, but producers listed include Pony Canyon, TBS, Bushi Road, Overlap, that is Nelke Planning. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that. And then AP Dream. Like, that's a lot of people involved. So it only makes sense that it's because we've got the stage play, we've got the anime, we've got the manga, we got the merch, we got it all.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's huge. It's giant.
As a property.
And that's something. It is.
As fan enjoyed content, it's less popular than we'd hope, I think.
Yeah, it's super weird because I kind of assumed that it would be meh, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But there was a moment in the first episode, so where the giraffe talks.
Mm-hmm.
And when the giraffe talks, I was like, oh shit. Shit is about to go down. I don't know what it was, but the giraffe.
Is it his incredibly deep voice?
It's the fact that they were like, well, we need a mascot character, and
real ass giraffe,
real ass giraffe. And you know what? I'm fine by that. I really am. There's just something so phenomenal about
I can only imagine that coming out of your head, but your mouth isn't moving and your eyes are all glassy. Like,
it was kind of like that because I'm trying to see. I'm trying to. I'm talking and I'm listening to you, but I'm also trying to see where the Utena thing that I read was. Boy, am I an idiot. Every time I talk about how Reddit told me something, it's always wrong. I should stop trusting
You know what you
Reddit.
need to do? You need to make a Reddit post, and then now that you are creating Reddit information, you can officially break your own reality. So you say on Reddit, today I learned that gravity exists because I broke my ankle. But the reality is you didn't break your ankle, and Reddit's wrong, so gravity doesn't exist anymore. Now you get to just enjoy that little metaphysical loophole. How about that?
Yes, I will do that. But, so this show, you know, I've watched a lot of shit anime recently. Like, I watched more anime during quarantine, and that gave birth to this podcast, and, well, we've seen some pretty good shows. I don't think that we have watched something that enthralled us this much.
Mm-hmm. Not something that we hadn't already seen.
Right. I mean, there's shows that are good that we watched. Like, you know, we liked Inspector. We liked the first episode of Yuki Yuna to an extent. We liked the princess one.
Puchi Priyushi.
Yeah.
I liked Tokyo Mew Mew.
I did like Tokyo Mew Mew. And, you know,
Tokyo Mew Mew 2.
I did. I really did. I liked a lot of it, but it was something about this show that made me realize that they were going... A lot of times when you watch shows nowadays, there's always something like, oh, it's like this, or oh, it's like this. Mm-hmm. You know, you have the 18th isekai of the season, or the battle shonen with a little twist about how he has to pee to use his powers or some silly thing, and
You're
then
not gonna fucking believe me. I've seen something like that.
And then your friend exactly, and then your friends are like, no, don't worry. I know it sounds weird, but they do it in a really cool way. And you're like, no, they don't. But even like when I think of all the anime that I've seen in the past year, I think of like Demon Slayer, which I really, really like. But it still has those shonen beats that make me a little upset. It still has the flavor, the aftertaste. Even if it is a new flavor, it's still there. Revue Starlight felt unique. And I know that it borrows from a lot of different shows, but the way that it incorporates them makes it into this very interesting deep dive into theater kids. And boy, was I a theater kid.
Yep. That was actually my first question I wanted to ask you. But I have to quickly stop. I'm calling out Yoru no Yatterman, aka Yatterman Knight. Fuck you for introducing a character whose whole shtick is that after a good match, he has to go and take an outdoor piss. And it's incredibly graphic.
I hate that. I hate that it's a real thing. I hate
it. Fuck that. Okay. Sorry, Yatterman Knight spoilers for the two people who watched that. Okay, so being a theater kid, Grant.
I actually have a minor in theater, so I have at least some education on this topic.
Ooh, that upgrades you from theater kid to theater boy.
Yes.
So, how are these theater kids, or are they a different breed?
So, I know this is kind of weird, and I don't normally like talking about high school because it makes me feel lame, but
Let's not do any name drops.
No, I won't do any name drops, but it reminds me of my senior performance of Grease, where we had a bunch of talented individuals, and we had very, very little lead parts. And so there was, some people were better at acting, some people were better at singing, some people had a really good dance, and there was all these different flavors of characters that everyone was really good at.
The Fonz was there.
We did have the actual Fonz, and that was really weird because he was how old? He was Henry Winkler, and Henry Winkler was born in 1945. So this was in 2014. So he was very old,
still fresh and ready to go.
He was almost 70 years old, and he came in, and it went, "Hey!" And he got the part of Danny Zuko, and all of us were mad.
Yeah, highly competitive considering his age and the role.
Well, he didn't even go to the school. but
we're used to remote work now. He doesn't have to go to the school.
But we did have this incredibly diverse and talented group of people in this theater production. And we didn't know who was going to get the lead part. And, I had friends that I was Kaneki. I did Greased Lightning. And that was a controversial pick because ya boy is a little tone deaf when it comes to singing. And so, I had friends that were a little upset that they felt like they got screwed out of a part, and as they should. That is one of those things where if your friend does better than you want to be supportive, but damn does it suck. And it sucked. But once we were done with the show, even when we were doing acting and performances and practices, we were still very cordial, we were still very friendly, we still hung out, and we still talked about the show. But there was always that little bit of competition, and that competition has existed for a long time, but you do get a hierarchy that gets placed when you're in theater. At my high school, the seniors always got the leads, which wasn't the case for this show either. And so people assumed, oh, you're a junior, so I can get the lead, and then you can get the lead next year. And that caused a huge ripple effect when someone else got the lead. And once again, I think the show was fun to do. Now, I think Grease as a show itself sucks ass. but
Unfamiliar territory. Grease.
I would love to do Grease. I would love to do a theater episode one time, even if it's just like list of shows that Grant thinks sucks ass. Hint, Guys and Dolls, also there. If your show is about 50s greasers people, sucks ass. Not a single good one. But I liked that Revue Starlight dealt with that. I like that there was this competition amongst friends, and they wanted to better each other, but you don't want to better them to a point where you get undershadowed, but you also don't want to be a dick. And so it's great at that.
Yeah. Now,
sorry, I'm really mad that Henry Winkler got the part of Danny Zuko.
It was tragic, you know.
Okay.
But he had his student ID.
He did, and he brought the leather jacket from Happy Days. And then there's scene where he punched down the doors because the bullies were coming to the restaurant to steal all the money. He punched out all the doors in the theater. They were real doors. Henry Winkler is very strong.
Mm-hmm. I should know. He pushed me out of the way in the slushy line once. That was one of the few days he was actually at the school.
Dude, you graduated. You weren't at the school.
Fuck! Everything just goes crash. I just start falling through a red background. I Am Reborn is plastered around me.
All right.
Okay,
So,
Grant, what are your takeaways from this show?
I think that this show, one of the few issues I have with the show is that there are times where it just blatantly tells the moral of the story,
Mm-hmm.
and then which is fine because it doesn't feel because it's not like a character's going like, oh, I get it now. It's always a character telling a character why they're doing something. So it works, but it is still blatant.
Yeah.
It's
self-discovery, sort of.
Yeah. And one of the things is, also, by the way, spoiler alert for this show. We'll try and explain what happens, but if you're watching this and you haven't seen Revue Starlight, it might get confusing, and also go watch the fucking show. It's so good. Even if you don't like this shit, there's something magical about this show. Or maybe don't. I don't know. But there's...
We're not your dads.
We are not your dads. But there's...
No, don't end the episode. Don't end it. Don't end it. Roll it back. Okay.
Alright. So you have... There is a time loop in this show, which was a huge plot twist. And I don't like that it only ended after... That's another problem I have with the show. That's, once again, a very minor problem, is that they have a lot of characters, and they want to give them a lot of time, and they only get 2 episodes, essentially, for their arc.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's an episode where you find out that the best character, Banana-chan, who has a really funny name because her name is Nana Daiba, but in Japan you say last name first, so it's Dai Banana. So she's Banana-chan, and she has banana hair, and she makes banana treats. She really emphasizes the idea that she loves fucking bananas. Mm-hmm. Not fucking bananas, but loves bananas emphasis. And she cooks and uses them for everything, and she also likes frogs. But she is the best stage girl, and she's the best fighter, and she wins constantly. And because she wins, she gets to be the top star. And once you're the top star, you get whatever you want. And it's traditionally the lead of the show. That's really what they're fighting for. They're fighting to be the lead. But Banana-chan is like, no, I don't want this show to end. So we're going to go back and we're going to do it again. And so she does. And you have this feeling of, one, not wanting to lose your youth and innocence, which is getting really, really real as I'm approaching my mid-20s. But you also have this idea that you don't want the show to end. You don't want this memories and experience to end, which is totally realistic for a show. The amount of shows that I felt emotional on the last day is quite a bit. Oliver sucks too. Put that on the list. But it makes so much sense coming from someone who is because she's not an actor. Or she was an actor, but she chose not to be. She is essentially the stage manager of the show. And so she actually is in charge of putting together the props and the costumes. And they don't really have a director. she kind of plays the role of director a little bit, but she
it might be one of the unnamed characters or like not
right.
referenced commonly characters.
Right, but it is this. It's this character who sees the entire production of the show, and she sees it as her baby, and she doesn't want it to go away. And then a wrench is thrown in her time loop when another character comes in that isn't part of the time loop. Super weird. And that makes her lose. And there's something, and then she talks to her partnered lesbian, because everyone in the show has a, like, here is your friend that you are very close to. And also the show has a lot of undertones. But her and her friend June talk about how, you know, it's something that you work on together, and that's why it's a memory, and it has to end, or else you don't get to feel the satisfaction of your work. And it's like, wow, that's cool. And June has this whole weird shit where she talks in quotes. She talks about Shakespeare and other famous theater people. And she says one that she's like, that's me. That's my quote. And it's a really good way to explicitly tell you the moral of the story, but also kind of use it in a character way. It's good. Mm-hmm. I liked it.
Yeah. It feels like this show will make it clear what it wants you to think about it. But I don't mind that because it does a good job of artistically building up to it. It feels like it feels like a really solid episode of a crime drama where, like, you mostly put the pieces together and you've pretty much got it locked down, and then they tell you anyway and you're like, yep, that confirms it. You know, like, you had it all along, but it is kind of nice to get that validation in a show like this. You know, it's in a strange place where it's almost high art in some fashions. You know, it is certainly more divergent from the norm of anime than your average anime of the season. If you look compared to what it's like up against from the season it came out, it is, you know, far removed in terms of both tone and execution. But that being said, as you said, it's very blunt in some ways, and your mileage will vary.
When did it come out again?
This was a 2018 show. It was up against the likes of Attack on Titan season 3. I'm pretty sure. Let's take a detour over to that. Grant, would you mind?
Yeah, I'm looking at summer 20.
Yes.
So
for a bit of context, on the Mal list of, you know, everything that aired that season, that was it was like halfway in the middle, and I don't know if that counted like new shows only or like continuations would get put somewhere else, I think. So like among the new shows that sort of kicked off, Revue Starlight in terms of popularity was dead center, which is not amazing considering what the bottom is composed of, and you know. So what were we up against here?
So you had your Boku no Hero season 3, your Attack on Titan season 3, your Overlord season 3. You also had
Triple Threat.
How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, which is bad, but it's there. Which it was popular. You had Cells at Work, Steins Gate Zero, and this was all just summer 2018. So there are other shows that came out earlier and also later. You had Asobase, which I know had a pretty big. It was pretty popular. A lot of people thought it was really funny. Yeah.
People who like to find bits and pieces and then upload them to YouTube separately.
You had Banana Fish come out, which I know was a big thing. Persona 5 the animation was out.
Die Banana Fish.
You had Fooly Cooly Progressive, which I know wasn't well received, but it was hyped.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the new Free season. You had a bunch of sports anime, like Hakura Receive, Captain Tsubasa. You had the badminton one, Hanabado, and I know Ryan likes most of those. So if Ryan likes them, they're probably good.
And Ryan, if you're listening, hey
Ryan,
go watch Shoujo Kageki Revue Starlight. It's like a sports show because they duel with swords, which is kind of like fencing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had
sports fans, watch Revue Starlight.
So you had a lot of shonen, you had a lot of sports stuff, and then you had like Grand Blue, which I know was pretty popular. It was a tough.
It's a gotcha.
It is, but it was a tough competition, but really not as strong as other seasons. And I think that's kind of like, oh man, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It didn't. It's good.
Yeah.
But it is weird, and I think that the weirdness can turn off a lot of people because sometimes people just want to relax and watch their shonen boys beat the shit out of each other.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this show doesn't have a lot of howevers. I feel like there's plenty of seasonal shows where it's like, hey, if you're into rom-coms, you'll like this. However, the animation is not frequent. You're going to be looking at a lot of stills. Hey, if you really love animation, this show is very creative. However, the characters are kind of unbearable sometimes, so prepare for that. This show kind of is very well-rounded.
Mm-hmm.
Its art is nice. It has some very well-animated fight scenes. They flex every now and then with some really good like environment rotations as characters are running about, and the choreography is varied, if nothing else. Like the fight scenes tend to take you through all sorts of different experiences. We have a good balance of like just like down to earth gals being pals, and also high energy, very abstract like scenery and scenes in other places. It feels like this show kind of captures a good spectrum on every aspect. Low drama, high drama, low art, high art. It's constantly sort of juggling these things. So yeah, it is weird to me that it didn't really hit with people. Not like in a big way like I would have expected with this kind of quality.
Yeah. And I agree. I think that one of the things about this show that I think everyone can get behind is that it isn't like anything you've seen before. It's so refreshing. Mm-hmm. Even if there are parts where oh that was a Madoka thing, or oh that was a Love Live thing, but it doesn't dwell on it, and it doesn't make its identity that. Mm-hmm. And I love that.
Yeah, it's so fast and it's so in its own thing that it doesn't have time to feel as if it is derivative.
Right. So, Brantley, I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Regarding the Revue Starlight. So, Revue Starlight has a fairly large cast, although really comparatively to some shows we've watched, it's really not that big. But which character do you identify with the most? Not exactly your favorite, but sort of your identifier, your grounded character.
I think maybe it's between Juna-chan and Dai Banana. Banana-chan. Here's the thing. Normally, I am Juna-chan. I am type A, kind of high-strung. I'm the type of person that wants to be collaborative, but there is like a competitive edge to me that I have a hard time turning off. It's less about like I want to beat someone and more like I can't lose. So that's very much like I have a wavelength with her. Not gonna lie, when she was having her actual major fight with Karen, and they do like the 2-second long background detail flashback of like representing her past without like going into a sepia tone, and actually literally showing it, but they show like a staged metaphor of that. I like choked up at that. So yeah, that's who I feel I am really, but like I am in the process of slowly becoming more like Daiba. I don't know if I should be saying Daiba or Banana-chan, because like
it's Banana-chan. Like
yeah,
that's what they call her in the show.
Yeah. So she's juggling so much. She's like sort of a master of everything and sort of like a central locus for their friend group. She is the trope of the blonde motherly type to the group. But I feel like I am working towards that as I am, learning better coping mechanisms. I'm learning how to take the edge off of stress, and
you did dye your hair blonde.
I did not.
hey, you do make
Don't make. I would never do that because I'd have to recolor the icon on our episodes.
But you do make sick ass banana bread.
I do. I love to make banana bread.
So I mean, like you're already
really right on that. Oh. I love to make banana bread muffins, but I don't do the thing where she does, where like it has actual like banana slices on
But
it.
you could. That's really not that hard. You just got a single banana.
Here's the thing: the banana slices always look so whole on those, and I feel like that would just be kind of a mess.
You need a very sharp knife and a very, very unripe banana.
Yeah. I guess props to Banana-chan for basically ensuring that her friends have to take it slow, because otherwise you're gonna get like half of that banana slice and it's gonna fall on your lap and just it's still kind of sticky, and you have to pick it up and then you eat it with your fingers and it just feels wrong. But yeah, I am in the process of wanting to become more like her, so she's my character arc. God, you recall when there was the two of them, Juna-chan and Banana-chan. No, I'm saying Juna-chan and Chan for banana because Banana-chan. This is the
I'll eat that banana.
This is the cowardice of your average white anime YouTuber. Strike me down with your mallet. Oh, podcast community, I deserve it. When they had that scene where it's all coming out, I was just like, just hug.
Oh, you
and
were?
that was an internal monologue, man. I was like, I need this right now. I need them to hug because I need to be hugged so hard with this character moment here. Oh goodness, Grant, how about you? Who are you?
So
it's like those old Nintendo ads. Who are you? Where they take a Nintendo character and they like tape the face on over someone's body.
Yeah. So I think that I am both Futaba and Kuroko, which are the partner characters, because they are all about that friendship. I think that part of me is like, I do everything because I want my friends to be happy. I want to be with my friends, and I want to do things for them, which is very Futaba. But also, I feel like sometimes I rely a little bit too much on my friends to get me through things, which is a lot like Kuroko. And I like their dynamic a lot, and also, Futaba doesn't take shit from no one, and she has a big axe, and that's sick.
Yeah.
And I want a big axe. But yeah, so that's what I think.
I would highly agree with everything you just said. So, in case you ever need to like change your profile icon, then like you've got my vote of approval on that. Now, regarding takeaways and stuff, to sort of spool back to that, I know we've discussed that the show is a little bit blunt sometimes, and sometimes it's very blunt.
Yes.
But what did you think about how the themes unfolded? Was it interesting to you, and if so, which ones stuck out to you?
One of the things that I found really interesting is that I never stopped thinking about what the show was trying to tell me. Even when it would blatantly tell me something, I would be like, all right, that makes sense. But what are you trying to say with this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. And I think that's something that the why the bluntness never really bothered me, because the show is able to get you to ask the questions that it's going to answer later. Mm-hmm. And it almost did that for everything. So one of the important themes is weirdly fourth wall breaking, and it's you being the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And there's literally a moment where the giraffe looks in the camera and says, "You and I are the same.
Yep.
We are just here to watch these girls try and live their dreams." And I was like, shit. You think of, what's the point of it being a theater, kids? It could literally be anything. Mm-hmm. Why theater? And then why is all of their fight scenes in a theater? And then that shit happens. I really liked how they unfold the idea of passion, because one of the drawbacks to becoming top star is that you become the top star, but you take away everyone else that you crushed's passion. And I thought that was a really, really good way to represent failure. Even if it wasn't a magical force that was taking away your passion, failing can really, really hinder that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was really well handled. I thought the way that the girls' fighting styles really represented themselves, which was neat. And it's obvious. It's yeah, of course they're going to do that. But it still is in a way that makes sense. So for instance, you have Tendo, we have Maya and Claudine, who are the two lead antagonists, I want to say. They're not really antagonists, but they're the best
competitors, yeah.
They're the top competitors, and they both fight with regular swords. They are very in control of their emotions, and it is the classic dueling style. Mm-hmm. And so it's very nice to see it. And then Karin also has a sword. And so it's this you can see Karin as who wants to be in the top contenders, but she's not quite there, but she still kind of represents, where you start out with. And then you have Jun-chan, who has a bow and arrow, and it's her calculating where she likes to think of things before she does them, but also she's kind of distant from a lot of characters, and it works really well. You have Hikari, who is one of the main characters, and she has she's home.
Okay.
No, but she's not. But she is the tragic backstory character, best friend of Karin, and she lost her passion in another audition fight overseas. And when she was fighting as the top contender, she had a sword, just like the other top contender. But then when she lost, it shrunk down to a dagger that was chained to her wrist. So it sort of represented this, I'm trying to fight upwards to reach my passion, but I'm chained to my failures, and the dagger represents.
Yeah.
And then Mahiru, who is Karin's roommate at the start, she's a twirler, so that's kind of fun. And then she has a big mace, and it's kind of her representation of, and I could be totally digging way too deep into this, and it could just be oh, that's fucking cool, do that. But it seems to work with a lot of characters. She's very, and she also likes a baseball cat. She has a baseball cat plush, and she hits everything with a bat. And she has best bat cat. But she has the best song in the show. It might not be the best fight scene. It actually was probably the worst fight scene, but its song was really cool because it's a very a jazzy breakdown.
Yeah, it's got that big band thing going on.
But her way that she kind of approaches things is very blunt and very in your face about it. Mm-hmm. And it becomes a problem when Hikari moves in and Karin wants to hang out with her, and Mahiru feels like she lost her friend, and it's really good. That's a really good dynamic, although it is probably where the show gets a little weird. Mm-hmm. Kuroko uses a polearm. I can't remember what the official name of it is.
Oh, the Naginata.
The Naginata. and Futaba uses a two-handed axe. And so those two are near inseparable childhood friends, and they have a very similar fighting style, except hers is a little bit more fancy and a little bit more graceful because she grew up as basically a princess. And then Futaba was a tomboy who liked to ride bikes, and she has a motorcycle, which she's not allowed to have, but she has it. So they kind of had this nice little interesting thematic going with their weapons, and they're not blunt about that, but you kind of see why they picked those weapons as it goes on. Oh, yeah. And then Dai Banana has 2 swords because she keeps winning, so she gets more swords.
Yes. Thematically, this show is where it gets the most mileage out of me. Yeah, as you mentioned, like you said, I don't know if I'm reading into this too much. I love to do that. That's like my thing. I so much enjoy separating the show's literal elements and its figurative elements and just taking that as far as I can run with it. Damn whatever the show was supposed to be. It has the potential to be meaningful, and I will try to make it meaningful. Sometimes that makes me overly optimistic about how a show is going, maybe naively so. Other times that makes me become incredibly critical if it's not delivering where I'm hoping it could, or it's not giving me things to work with. But in any case, this show is just like kept on giving in that regard. I'm gonna try to just like do a lightning round of themes that appeared to me in the show that we haven't already discussed so far. For one, the audience sort of embodiment is just really neat. There's another piece of media that I hope we cover in the near future that has a very similar turn. But we're not going to talk about that quite yet, because I don't want to spoil it for you, Grant.
Okay.
But in the meantime, just know that like that was a game changer for me in whatever that piece of media is. So it was big for me here too. I think in particular it works for this show because there's this underlying element of objectification, and how it's innate to experiencing something. That when you see people up on a stage or when you talk to a friend in real life, there is a process in which they become an object to you. Now that sounds harsh, like, no, I don't treat my friends like objects. It's true, you probably don't try to, but the human brain has to take the entirety of another human and try to crunch them down into something that you can interact with. And so you're going to cull out certain details. There are things you're not going to pick up on in your everyday interaction, no matter how perceptive you are, just because we have to, work with that. We have to start somewhere. And so thus, a person becomes an object. However, the more you get to know someone and the more you sort of understand their rich narrative, then that gets you closer to subjectification. That they have these non-universal truths that apply to them. It's that sort of effect of, these people, they're always like this, but my friend is not like this, even though they fall into this group. Anime watchers, they're all just, horny dickwads, and they don't know how to act like responsible human beings on Twitter. But my friend Grant is very cool and fun, and
doesn't have a Twitter,
and is also angry and horny. But that's besides the point. Watch our previous episode for that. I think it's lovely that the whole integration of the audience is not just like it's an I gotcha, but it also plays into how the characters see each other. At the beginning of the show, everyone's kind of in this competitive mode. They sort of see each other in tropes, so I'm going to sort of take this from a chain approach. So Mahiru sees Karen as just an object of affection, right? She's someone she can dote on. She is, essentially, I don't particularly like this trope, but, for lack of better words, she is Mahiru's useless lesbian, right? That she's taking care of. And so that is an objectification of Karen. Even though it's well-meaning, it is, reducing who she is. Karen is very similar on Hikari. They're good friends, but they've been away for a while, and so Karen is trying to force this image of old Hikari on her. To continue on to that, Claudine on Maya and Maya on Claudine. They both have this thing where it's like, oh, you're the child actress. Oh, you're from the family of actresses and actors. And so they're reducing each other down to these simple elements when in reality they're, human beings with, a deep well of experiences and personality traits. It continues. Like, Kaoruku and Futaba have this entire episode about, like, you don't really know me sort of vibes. Banana-chan on literally everyone in the cast, as she tries to say, you are all my good friends, and I have to keep you in this moment where you belong. That is an objectification. And so I think that's a farther running theme besides just the audience upon the show. It's how the actresses here are also imposing that. It's the danger of the stage hierarchy, that it puts you in these roles. And that by that, like, internal typecasting, that, things kind of get bent out of shape. Things lose the humanity in it. By the way, as sort of an extension of this, I feel like that is that is a reason why the transformation scene featuring a bit of covered nudity doesn't bother me so much, because I feel like that's also leaning into that theme. It gets to a point where Karen is in this like contrapposto pose, and she's sort of covered up by these curtains, and like you get like this one single like makeup brush like goes across her cheek. I feel like that little snippet right there is like, here is Karen. She's being objectified for you as she goes onto the stage. She has been rendered down to her basest features. And so I feel like it's appropriate. I feel like it's still saying something.
And then she puts on a sick jacket in a very cool way.
And maybe it's not saying anything, but I could draw meaning from that, and I find that very valuable.
There's a part near the end of the show where Hikari is also stripped naked. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching that part with you, and I remember asking, and I'm like, why is this not bothering me? Because if you've listened to any of our previous shows, we despise putting characters in a position of like nudity for no reason. Mm-hmm. But in reality, it's just the way they framed it. They didn't frame nudity as a sexual thing, but more as a, like, I'm bearing all I have, which is nothing. Because at this point, Hikari has given up her position in reality, essentially, so that none of her friends lose their passion. And because of that, she's basically doomed eternally to the stage hell. Yeah.
It's the shape of vulnerability is what you see, and not like the literal element which is there. Yeah, I think it says that.
It's never the pivotal shot. The only time you really see a nude character who is smack dab in the middle is when it's Karen transforming, but once again, there is this kind of almost statue-like aspect to it, where you're like, no, this isn't sexual. It means something. Yeah. And they do have scenes where the characters are in the bath or they're in the bathroom. Yeah. But it's still not framed in a way that makes it sexual.
It's usually a little off-center, or, it's not drawing attention to it. At the very least, it provides context to how they behave with each other. It's never just for the purpose of fan service. You always get something out of it.
I think it's good.
Yeah. All right. I've turned this lightning round into a slow rolling thunderstorm. So let's instead bring this back to lightning.
It's a good fucking metaphor.
Really quickly. Hey Grant, guess what Hikari means?
Does it mean?
I'll give you 3 guesses because you might get it.
Does it mean the end?
No.
Does it mean the beginning?
No. That counts as 1. By the way, you know what the beginning is. I don't know if you know.
It's Hajime. I know.
Hajime.
I thought that maybe it meant something. I thought there might have been 2 ways to say it.
No, Hajime and Owari.
By the way, look forward to our Danganronpa all three video game review.
We'll get there.
All right. Does it mean Reborn?
No. But you're getting closer.
Does it mean? Sorry, it feels like it should be on the top of my tongue.
Yeah,
I swear I've seen
about,
an anime.
Think about what
Hikari.
Hikari means to Karen.
The past?
No. Oh, maybe
Damn.
that was a bad hint.
I
Hikari-
fucked up.
It's okay. Hikari means light.
Ah, cute.
Yeah, so whenever Karen is sort of chasing after Hikari, she's literally chasing after her light.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
That's
That's
nice.
when the show's talking about, like, you know, your shine and everything, she's literally the shine of Karen.
And they
She's
say
going
that.
after
They do say that. There is
Yeah.
literally a part where they literally shove the Tokyo Tower through the fourth wall, and then the giraffe freaks out. He literally has his first sense of emotion where he's like, "Oh, I get it. The stage isn't the stage; it's who you're with." And then Hikari is like, "I can't believe it. I've had my shine taken away, and yet I still care."
Mhm.
And then she's like, "Yes, we are the stage for each other." It literally says it.
Mhm.
But once again, it doesn't feel like it's like being blunt about it.
Mhm. Yeah.
God, I love this
It's
shit.
good. It feels deserved. Speaking on that note too, I've done research on cooperation and competition, so this very much hits up my alley. I'll just say from the stuff I've read, it all tracks. You know, from some research I've read, hey, word up to David and Roger Johnson, two brothers who are researchers. They hinged a lot of their research on social interdependence theory. This is what my thesis was essentially.
Yeah, so when Brantley
built
says he's
upon.
done research, it's not like he's Googled it before this show. It's literally what he's in school for.
This is. I've been lying this whole time, Grant. I haven't been in a master's program. I've just been sitting here and watching Billy Hatcher speedruns and. So one thing that they sort of characterized in their research, when you're comparing cooperation, which is positive interdependence, and competition, which is negative interdependence by their definitions, is that cooperation is marked by high commitment. Competition is marked by low commitment. Which you wouldn't think that. You'd think like, oh, people are competitive, so they're going to stick at it, but not really. Because if you're losing at this, then you'll probably divert your attention to something else, something where you can win. And so, hey, you know, that works out here. People are losing their shine until they work together, in which case then, you know, that loss of motivation is no longer extrinsic. It's totally intrinsic. And so it feels like you've got nothing to lose because you're working with each other, not against each other.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
I like that sort of has this this feeling that the show is built upon like contrast and affinity, and like, you know, where are differences drawn from each other as characters, but where do we all blend together as, you know, a team of actresses. I think it's interesting that you have this like affine relationship between the characters to the point where my anime list will list them all as main, despite the fact that like you could isolate, say like, oh, Karen's the main character, but then you think, well, Hikari is also kind of a main character, but by that extension, Banana Chan's kind of a main character, and then you really can't cut out Maya and Claudine because they're, you know, the big pillars that the characters are sort of up against, and then by that rate you kind of keep expanding until everything has sort of lost the threshold between actress and supporting actress, right?
Right. And that's the point of the show. And one of the things that they talk about is, so the show they're going to be performing is called Starlight. Revue Starlight, it's the show. Also, we haven't mentioned this, and I feel like we should mention this. They sing and all of their fights, like we dabbled on it, but like they specifically actually sing, and all the songs kick ass. But anyway, so they touch on this when they do Starlight, because this is their second. They do Starlight either every summer or they're just doing it again for like the first time. I can't remember what it is exactly.
I think it's like, because of the breakage in the time loop, the idea is we're going to do Starlight all 3 years that we're in school here, and every time we're going to try to make it better.
Yeah. So this is one of their last times, not their last time, it's like their second time doing it.
Yeah, second.
And because of it, you see, the first time it was Maya and Claudine were the leads, and there's this kind of expectation that they're going to be it. And you kind of see how people are trying to make their positions different, even if they don't get the leads. And then at the end of the show, when they rewrite Starlight to have a happy ending, which is also a theme that they have in the show about not having to follow the rules just because they exist, which the giraffe freaks out about, and it's a fucking phenomenal scene. But they give the characters a little bit more. They kind of show that you can have these supporting roles that are just as good, or you know, another main role, even if they're not the primary focus. And it's so good. And the giraffe is in the show, and it's really cute. They have him in the show, the stage production. They're all like, "Oh man, we got to make a stage. Make sure we make a big ass giraffe for the end of the show, because boy, he's great."
Now that we're on this topic,
about the giraffe, aka
no,
the
not
best character.
I do want to talk about the giraffe in the room, but not yet. I instead want to talk about the cast and sort of close this out. During Yuki Yuna's episode, I asked you who you thought the show could do without this time. Who could the show not work without?
I mean, like, the obvious answer is Hikari, because even the show the show uses her as the catalyst for why the time loop breaks, but it's also Mahiru's motivation at first. It's Karen's motivation at first, which triggers Maya and Claudine's motivation. So she is the catalyst for everything. So I'm not gonna say her, because that would be a boring answer.
I think you have just said her, but then lampshaded.
Honestly, Jun-chan, I think, is a very because I was thinking about this, because I was listening to the music recently when I was driving, and the song between Jun and Hikari. I mean, there's the song that Jun and Hikari sing, and then there's the song that Jun and Karen sing, and there is a part of me remembered that Jun was the reason that this collaboration started. So before then, people were friends. We saw them. We saw them collaborate. Was Jun-chan friends with Karen before her and Hikari went to the aquarium, or was that after?
Not really. So Juna-chan started warming up to people as they got I guess really after she got beaten.
Right.
But before that, she was a little more distant.
Right. Well, that's what I was wondering. Did the aquarium scene happen after Karen fought Jun?
Yeah.
For the second time?
I don't remember. I forgot that Hikari and Juna-chan ever fought again, because all I remembered was that Hikari and Juna fought, and then Karen and Juna
that's
fought.
what I meant. Did the aquarium scene happen after Karen?
Yes, happened after.
Yes. So the first time we ever see the characters all interact with each other in a cooperative way is they are trying to cover for the fact that Karen and Hikari are not at school. They left. And it was all done by Mahiru in June, who before this time was very, very cold to everybody. So you have a different catalyst. You don't have a catalyst for the plot exactly, but you have a catalyst for this cooperative mindset that these girls are starting to have.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with June. And I think that's why June is one of the most important characters in the show. Like, you could replace her with anybody else, but because of how June is and how she, is looked at, it wouldn't have nearly as high as an impact. Like, if you had Hikari fight Futaba, and you had Futaba be the first character that Karin beat, it wouldn't change much in terms of impact. I mean, it would change a ton in impact. The plot might stay the same, where they start to cooperate more, but right there you get to see how cooperation even, hinders the most competitive people and makes them, realize that it's better. And it's great. It's phenomenal. What about you? Who do you think that the show can't survive without?
Honestly, like, a boring answer, but I kind of think it's Karin. I think she's a really good change agent. Like, you're definitely selling me more on Juna-chan now that you've talked about it, in the sense that, like, Banana-chan kind of has, like, this bear hug on the whole group to kind of softly keep them together, but Juna-chan is the one who actually kind of, like, who actually physically ties everyone up, or gives them sort of the string to hold on to. She's the one who sort of puts in that final glue.
Mm-hmm.
But for Karin, I feel like she's like the embodiment of all the show's themes. If you remove her, then everyone's motivations sort of fall a little more apart. Hikari also has some of that effect, but as you mentioned, she's sort of the plot catalyst. For Karin, if Karin's not there, Hikari has no reason to come back. Mahiru has no direct love interest. Claudine and Maya never have a shakeup and never have to work together. Continued on and on. It feels like nearly every character, when exposed to Karin, except oddly, maybe, except for Banana-chan, I think that everyone else, is like sort of nicely improved by Karin. It feels like everyone's character arc involves Karin in some distant way. Even I would say, like, Futaba and Kaoruko have a very closed circuit, but even for them, the reason why Futaba starts picking up the pace is because Karin's a challenge now. Futaba's like, oh shit, I really want this, and I can't lose. So if Karin can kind of step in here, then what's stopping me? I'm gonna fight Claudine.
Right, which is interesting, because that catalyst into Claudine and Maya's character arc, because when Futaba and Karuko, how do you pronounce her name?
Karuko, yeah.
Karuko. When they have their falling out, they go to Claudine and Maya respectively. And that causes a rift between them, but also Maya and Claudine. And it you're right. Karin is like the character catalyst, while Hikari's the plot catalyst.
And Juna is like the final holding place glue for everyone, Right. Karin might put them in place, but Juna-chan makes sure that they stay there.
Yep, I think that's a fairly solid assessment.
You've done good work today, Grant.
We've done good work. Write it down, put it in the notes.
Yeah.
So my next question for you.
Yeah.
There are a ton of thematically emotional scenes in the show. What was the one that kind of took you off guard the most?
I want to say it's the one in, it's Juna-chan's 2-second backstory in her song. But because that's a quick answer, I'll name off some others. There's the first position 0 is just really powerful. It's so well timed, and everything just kind of comes together all at once, and whoa, it's faster than you expect. Yeah.
for those who are not going to watch the show and are still listening to our shitty podcast, position 0 is the position the characters take when they win the fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they thrust their weapon down on the center stage mark and yell position 0, and then the curtains all fall down and separate them from whoever lost the duel. It's incredibly dramatic, and I am a sucker for it every time. And the fact that before that involves this really clangy sound of them knocking the button holding up the coat, that is also its own little micro emotional moment. I think that another one of my favorite emotional parts was when Juna-chan and Karen have their duel, and Karen's it becomes a duet, and then Karen takes over. Again, very emblematic of what the show is getting at. And she's just singing so powerfully. I'm not even that great of a fan of Karen's singing voice, but the way she uses it is where it becomes powerful. Yeah. The for the love of God, give Banana-chan a hug scene for sure. That it had took me so long on the edge of my seat. Yeah. So those are my top ones, I think, off the top of my head. How about you?
So I'm a sucker for transformation scenes, and this show's transformation scene got me hyped every single time, and it only happens to Karen, which I believe is thematic, but we'll talk about that after I talk about this. Yeah. So the transformation scene is very industrial. It literally shows them putting together the outfit, and they do it by melting her crown, and it turns into her sword. Now, it's all metaphorical, obviously, but the crown melting is basically her passion, her shine, which is Hikari, who gave her the crown pen. And that melting of the pen is showing that she is using her shine and channeling it into her weapon. And the reason that Karen gets it is because Karen's the only one at the start of the show who really understands that every time that you start a new performance, you are a different person. Whether that be metaphorically or literally, different character, different role. But you're also different. You have more experience. You have something new that you're bringing to the table. And that's why she gets a transformation scene. No one else does. Yeah. Because that's why. But the industrial effects of it, and then you get the part where they swipe her face with the makeup, and then she fucking throws on the jacket. It hypes me up every single time. And it does it, and there's a part in the end where she loses, and then she's like, nah, fuck that, and then they do the transformation scene again, and then she does it, and you're like, hell yes, let's go, I am reborn, and it's so fucking good.
Yeah.
The other one that I like to think of is the part when they're back at the gift shop, and you have Karen. They're at the gift shop where they bought their headbands when they were young, and then it has Karen looking at a young Hikari, and it has Hikari. Yeah, right? You forgot about it, and now you're getting flooded with emotions again. And then you have Hikari look at a young Karen, and then it shows them grown up looking at each other, and then it has a little audience seat of them as little kids looking at their teenage age. And it's so good, and it's so a representation, because up until this point, Hikari was fairly monotone and fairly emotionless. She had emotions and she had motivation, but she didn't really show it. And at this point, she totally changes, and it shows that these two kids who promised each other a decade ago that they would be on Starlight, they might not be doing Starlight together, at least as the mains, but they're together, and it's so good, and it made me so happy. Fucking sick ass show.
Yeah.
God, just talking about... See, and this is the thing about the show. I haven't talked to you about it in a week. Because I didn't want to talk to you about it before we talked about it so that we could talk about it. And just talking about it makes me realize how much more I love it. Just like how talking about Yuki Yuta made me realize how much I disliked it.
Yeah. I think this is represented in the conversation we had about what my anime list scores we were going to give it. Because we were both like... It feels like maybe it should be a 9, but I'm putting a 10.
Yeah, exactly. And this is my first 10 in an anime in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that, like, I haven't seen shows that have evoked emotion for me. But normally, they don't evoke the staying power of this show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. It really is. And the thing is I don't think this would be everybody's 10.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
I feel like if you gave this a 7, I would totally get it. I really would.
My anime list would agree with you.
So my last 10 I gave was Flip Flappers.
Wow, yeah. That was, like, what, 3 years ago?
Yeah, it was when Flip Flappers came out. And so, and you know, and when we did our episode on Flip Flappers, I talked about how there is kind of a, you know, what you think of a show affects what emotions you were feeling at the time. You know, when Flip Flappers came out, I was a little sad, and there was just something so happy and upbeat about it that it made me feel a 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Revue Starlight kind of did that for me. You know, it's been a long time since I've seen an anime that evoked that kind of emotion from me, and it's also been a long time. You know, shit sucks right now. I'm not gonna lie, and so it was kind of nice to see just this. It kind of took me back to a time when I could do theater and not worry about the state of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why it really, really got that 10 for me. I'd consider it like a 9.5, but bump it up to a 10.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'd like to do some tidying up. I think we've had some topics that have sort of, they come and they go, and we haven't really gotten to them because everything is so, like, stream of conscious right now. We're finally getting it all out. So let's talk about the music.
Oh, hell yeah.
I really love how varied it can be in this show. You know, we have, like, your very typical anime orchestra hype music. We have some of the, like, jazzy big band type style that we have in like, Mahiru's insert song. We have, you know, like, the really dramatic flares of, you know, Maya's vibrato being basically her own instrument in the song. In the fight between Futaba and Kaoruku, even got like this like electric guitar versus like classical Japanese instruments. You know, you can hear sort of the
that song kicks ass.
Oh no, I looked up the name of this instrument just before we started. It was like the koto, which I think like you kind of hear in like if you've ever played Okami, the soundtrack of that.
It is it? Yeah, it's the koto.
And I'm thinking of the wind instrument. It's a bamboo.
Is it
it's like shakuhachi or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that it? Shakuhachi.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I was second guessing myself, but yes. You have those instruments playing. You know, and like it's a pretty wide breadth of instruments, everything considered. For a show that could have just reused one fight theme throughout the whole thing, which I think is, you know, not uncommon and not even looked down upon for, you know, action shows. They went all out, you know. It helps that this has, you know, music in its origins, and they want to do like a musical style thing, but, you know, it would have been cheaper and more convenient to just have one sort of oral palette for the entire thing, and that's not what they did.
Well, and that is one of the benefits of being a multimedia project.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, as much as this show was phenomenal, and they do want to make money, and you can make a lot of money selling albums. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't just use this as a way to introduce us to characters that they can sell as character songs to. They use it as a way to express the character's emotions through their song, like a musical. Mm-hmm. And the music is so varying that if you listen to any modern day musical, it makes sense. You listen to the opening song, and then you hear the ending first song, which isn't the ending to the rest of the show, and it feels like a musical. When I was listening to it, I listened to the entire OST. It felt like I was listening to a musical album. It's about the same length. It has a varying amount of singers with a varying amount of genres, and it has various instruments that are played in a pit band that it sounds like you'll have different melodies played by different instruments. and then you'll still have those instruments in the background of other songs, so it feels so natural. And the music in the show, even if you don't watch the show, give the OST a try, especially if you like Broadway musical styling album setups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, it's very possible that you watch the show and you're like, I just don't know why they're so into it. That's fair. I think what maybe struck me is how it would continue to impress us. And maybe it's because we've got a low bar right now, but I'll tell you what, when the ending comes around and you realize that it's the characters that the episode was focused on who are singing it in a duet, like it just like
or solo
melts your heart. There were some duets, I think, right?
Yeah, there were both. So it depends.
Yeah.
So like the first time that "Fly Me to the Star," which is the ending song, is sung, it's just Hikari.
Mm-hmm.
But the next episode, which is the one where they go into the aquarium when it's Hikari and Karin having their day to hang out, it is Hikari and Karin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's both of them. And then when you have episode 4, which is about how Mahiru feels that she's been Mahiru feels abandoned by Karin, it's just Mahiru at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And then and you have an episode that's just Karin, and then you have an episode that's June and Nana. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's super nice. And then on episode 10, it's everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's everybody for the remainder of the show.
Yeah, I get like the episode numbers confused on this a lot. But the
we did
moments
watch a lot of it at once.
Yeah, but the moments are like rock solid, you know. It's one of those things that's just like, oh, you know, we're sitting there and we're watching, oh, is that what I think it is? Yeah, it is. It's like, wow, they bothered to do that. It shows that they had, you know, the guts to try, and they put themselves out there and did something that wasn't just, you know, get it done.
Yeah. One of the things that really kind of blew my mind, not blew my mind, that's a really, really strong word for what I'm going to say. One of the things that really gave me was the fact that the characters who could have easily been one-dimensional character with one personality trait, because there's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's 8 characters in 12 episodes.
We got pretty worried at the beginning. Yeah, we were counting heads, and it was like, no. But hey, you know, time proves us wrong.
Yeah, there was a part at the beginning where we were watching it, and we were like, oh, fuck, who are all these characters?
Yeah, they were filing into the practice room. I was just like, uh-oh.
But then, it kept going.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And it worked so well. And I looked up the director of the show. Yes. And the director of the show has done quite a bit of good shit in terms of things that we like.
Mm-hmm.
So the director of the show is Furukawa Tomohiro.
Mm-hmm.
And he did, weirdly enough, Angel Beats, which we talked about with Yuki Yuna, but he also directed Bleach, which is weird. Mm-hmm. But he also did a lot of the keynotes, the key animations for a lot of other shows. He's been around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was key animation for Angel Beats. Where's his directing staff? Because he's done. Oh, he wrote a lot of Penguindrum.
Oh, okay. So that would be So he would be writing on an Ikuhara show there.
So that's where I got it confused.
Mm-hmm.
I remember reading that he was on that. And then he was basically. That's about all he did. He did do Red Data Girl.
That and Red Data Animals.
Which I've never seen.
You know all about those. You went to see the exhibit with that guy you have a crush on.
Hey!
He was did some episode directings for that, and that's one of Tyler's shows that he really liked.
Mm-hmm.
And he he worked a little bit on Symphogear.
Oh, now I know why it's good.
But no, I mean,
hey,
he hasn't been...
You know why I didn't know that?
Why?
Boys don't know this.
But really, he's been around, and he's been a part of a lot of animation teams, but he's only directed some episodes of Symphogear, all of Revue Starlight, and most of Penguin Drum. But that's about it. But the thing is that he's worked on Precure as animators. He wrote he did the animation for the Milky Homes opening. So, he's done a few things.
We're more familiar with this dude than we thought we were. Okay.
Yeah, but he's been around, and I think that really kind of gets him. He has some staying power, and I think that for this being one of the few shows he's directed the entirety thing of, damn, does it really show his talent?
Mm-hmm. Did a good job there. And the rest of the staff,
And I feel like we should talk about the music. One of the head musics is Tatsuya Kato, and he did music for Free. He did music for Love Live.
When he did music for free.
No,
that's fucking robbery, man. You have to pay your workers.
But he's done music for a lot of things. He did music for Plastic Nissan.
I was thinking about Plastic Nissan before this episode started.
Well, there it is.
You know what? And you know why? Here's a fucking reach. So I was thinking about Mahiru's insert song.
Yeah.
She doesn't sing for like a big chunk of the opening. But the first words that she sings are Choto Mate, and it's split up with like a little bit of music in between. Choto Mate means like wait a second. Choto meaning a little, mate meaning wait. So Choto Mate, hey, hold up. And that got me thinking about just mate, wait. And the part in Plastic Nissan where the guy whose name I don't remember, but everyone knows the guy. He shouts out "Mate!" and then of course he explodes his clothes off, and engages in a thrusting movement towards the people in the alleyway. That's how I thought about Plastic Nissan before this all started. I am so scared about what fate is delivering us right now.
We'll talk about Nissan another time.
I don't know if we will. Don't count. Don't get excited. We have plenty of things to do. I'm not exactly holding out for Plastic Nissan.
So Tatsuya Kato, he did Dr. Stone. He did
Weed
Idol
Boy.
Wish. Yeah, with
weed head ass, bong ass bitch.
He's done a lot of things. And then Yoshikaro Fujisawa, who is also one of the composers for this show, did A Place Further Than the Universe, did Slow Start, did Land of the Lustrous, which has beautiful music. He did Cautious Hero. He's done a lot, but not nearly as much, although he did work on Love Live as well. So I'm guessing that's how those two kind of know each other. Mm-hmm. And they might have, teamed up for this show. But I want to give shout-outs to those guys for having a sick-ass soundtrack. Mm-hmm. That I'm going to listen to on repeat for like a week and a half. Do you have any other questions you want to propose to me?
Oh, absolutely. We didn't talk a lot about Utena. This could have potentially been Amaho with Utena, but just, didn't shape up that way. Had plenty to talk about. Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
Can you imagine if we were filling this in with Utena?
No, it would never end. Yeah. And Utena's a long show too. Like, if we get through like 6 episodes of Utena, 12 episodes of Utena, then that's plenty, but like even then that's a small fraction of what it ends up becoming. And like it comes in pretty steady waves, so like, the first 13 episodes are very much about one thing. And then the next 13 episodes are very much about one thing, sort of. So So I'm kind of glad we've put a hold on that. But I do have sort of one question sort of to intersect this. Which do you think is the cooler or better dueling implement for, taking the victory? Knocking off the rose or knocking off the coat?
It's the coat. And the thing is about knocking off the rose is cool and it's symbolic and it's great, but there's not a lot of weight to it. It's like, your rose fell off. But with the way that they implement the coat, so you can either cut the string or break the
button,
the badge.
Yeah.
And so when they do it, it's loud. It's ding.
It's very
position
satisfying.
0.
Yeah.
And then they do the position 0. It's so good.
Yeah, I struggle with this. Like, I love, like, the anticlimax of the rose, where they just sort of shred the thing. And I do love that it's, like, it's essentially representing the heart. And Utena is, like, very much about romance. As much as I'd argue it's also about, a variety of critical topics. But the coat makes so much sense when you think about this being like in some way a stage play format.
Right.
When you have that coat, it's such an easy visual indicator of like, okay, the match is won. And as you mentioned, separating that coat with the, like actually knocking it off, is such a satisfying sound, such a satisfying visual. Yeah. They really nail it every time on that. There's something to be said about the symbolism in the coat as well, and it sort of representing this like heavy burden that you're shouldering, and by the end of the fight some resolution has come across, and the coat slumps to the ground and all that weight is lifted, but whoever won is still carrying the weight, and so I think it goes either way for me.
Yeah, it's so good. I do like the anticlimactic of the rose, but I'm a big sucker for that audio. That audio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like when the badge gets knocked off. It goes.
Yeah. I like heavy audio beats.
Yeah.
In terms of. Yeah.
I hope people don't take us seriously on some of these gags, because they're gonna be like, "What the fuck is this show? Why are they getting so excited about the fucking fart noises?"
Hell yeah!
God, I'll never watch this podcast again. New episode. No. Okay, one last hypothetical for you.
Okay.
You meet Kirin.
Okay.
The giraffe, voiced of course by Kenjiro Sudo.
Wait, his name's Kirin?
Kirin, which means giraffe.
Oh, okay.
That's hence Kirin, the giraffe.
Okay, real quick before we talk about this, one of the best scenes is when Karin enters the fight scene for the first time, and the giraffe is telling her not to interfere, and then it cuts to his head, and Karin is holding his head so that it will fall over so she can jump on stage. And it's so great because I watched it yesterday trying to get the background, the I Am Reborn background for my computer. Mm-hmm. And he goes, huh? Because he doesn't know where she is. Yeah. And then she just says, "Get out of my way, giraffe." Except I think she says giraffe. I don't think she says Kirin. I think she says like giraffe.
Right. I mean, it is literally like it translates. So Kirin is giraffe and giraffe is Kirin. That's great. In the subs, then it's going to become giraffe. So you meet Kirin. And Kirin says to you in that deep, luscious voice, "You arrive late to the stage, but land your marks nonetheless. The solstice sun, or perhaps a supernova, the last shine a star can give. Is this just another show, or is it your final bow?" How do you defeat him in close combat?
Sorry. We talked so much hypothetical about the characters just beating the shit out of this giraffe throughout the entire time we watched this show, and we never came to a conclusion.
That was your rehearsal, Grant. What do you have to say?
So giraffes? Okay, do I get a weapon?
Can
I at least have a baseball bat?
Sure, you can have a weapon.
Okay, I'm gonna take...
The theoretical situation here is that you are involved in these fights, so yes, you get to have your weapon.
Okay, so I want a baseball bat, or at least some sort of clubbing instrument. So, giraffes. I'm just gonna look this up, because I know that they fucking kick the shit out of lions.
Yeah.
Kick force. So a giraffe's kick can put 2,000 pounds of force per square inch, which is this. It's about the same. So it's about as getting kicked as hard as a horse. So it's pretty hard. And also, kangaroos can only kick at 850 psi, so they be bitches.
Mm-hmm.
So that sucks. But I feel like if I can break their back legs... Oh no, they can kick with their front legs too! I just watched them just absolutely kick the shit out of a lion! Oh no! So, I guess I'd have to break their legs with my baseball bat. Or at least something, because... But, like, if their legs are that powerful, they have to have a ton of muscle.
How fast can a giraffe run?
Oh no, that's scary. That's 37 miles per hour. Oh no, it's so fast. I can't run that fast.
Do we need to reframe this instead of how do you defeat Kieran? How do you die? How do you choose to become?
How do you survive?
Yeah, how do you lose?
Okay, so Kieran is obviously not very perceptive because Karen does get on his head without him knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm but where do you slit the throat, dude? It's so long.
It's all the way up, man.
Dude, because I was gonna say get on his neck and slit his throat, but like, geez.
You can zip line it.
Okay, I guess I would get on his neck, and I would, like, you know in pirate movies where they stab the knife in the sail and they just fall down?
Slide it down.
I'd try and do that, but I really don't think I could. I don't think I could. I think I would lose like 9 out of 10 times if I fought this giraffe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my original plan was that I would take a running leap onto the tail and grab it and pull it and swing with it. So I'd try to clear the legs in time and then leap off, and then the head comes around to check what the hell's going on, and then I just bam give it a right hook. But clearly knowing how adept and strong and good at killing giraffes apparently are, that would definitely not happen, and I would just get my shit rocked. So, glad we figured this out.
Do you know how heavy their necks just are?
How heavy?
They're like 600 pounds.
Ooh.
Okay, so just so you know, they weigh up to 2,000 pounds. 600 are for their necks.
Then what's everything else?
I mean, like, man, that's a big portion.
Brain.
Also, they use their necks.
Killing machine. They hit each other with their necks. Like, I've seen that. Like, wow.
Yeah, dude. Oh god. All right. Moral of the story is don't fuck with giraffes.
Yeah.
Um.
So before we were like, why is it a giraffe? Why is the giraffe the animal that's conducting not conducting, but is acting as the sort of the anti-master of ceremonies here? Why the giraffe?
They do also have,
because giraffes are fucking unkillable apparently.
They have 2 feet long tongues.
Yes.
That's just it. Their tongues are 2 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I actually have a theory for why it is a giraffe.
Yes.
And you have it too. I think you talked about this. I think this is where I got my theory.
Yeah.
But it's because he's able to look down on everything as the audience.
The view from the top of the mountain.
What's interesting is on the last fight when they break all his boundaries and all his rules.
I thought you were going to say break his neck.
What?
I thought you were going to say break his neck because we were talking
about they're higher than him.
Mm-hmm.
They're way, way higher than him. And that's the only time that they're really higher than him.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Just thought about that.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Man. Damn, the show's good.
Mm-hmm. Where can you watch this show?
You can watch the show on not our sponsor, but if you listen to us, Verve, we talk about you a lot. But you can watch this show on Verve or Crunchyroll, or maybe it's on High Dive. It's one of the ones that's on Verve.
Listen, Verve, you host some really shit shows. So what's one more? Sponsor us.
Yeah, man. Sponsor us. I mean, hey. All right. So I have one hypothetical for you.
Oh my god, you're flipping the script on me.
I am. It's not as deep as fighting a giraffe, though, and I kind of wish we would have saved it for last, but I do need to know this answer to this question.
Lay it on me.
What weapon would you use while you're performing to be the top star?
Well, you've already kind of answered that. So...
Well, I didn't. I just said I'd use I just said I'd use a bat to fight the giraffe.
Yeah.
Which I realize is the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I think, man, it's got to be nunchucks. Some good old nunchaku.
God damn, I want to see that happen now. Why didn't any of them have nunchucks? Fuck.
Mm-hmm. I would use nunchucks because I'm very skilled. I'm very skilled and very fast and cunning. I would use it to disarm all my enemies, and I would never hit myself with the nunchucks ever. Not once. I own nunchucks. I hit myself with them all the time. Grant, what would your weapon be?
Gun.
God!
Thank you for listening to this. No, I'm just kidding. It would probably be because I can't pick gun. I can't pick gun.
You actually got me with that. How have we been friends this long? And you got me with that.
The gun.
I'm ashamed.
I'd probably use some sort of spear, some sort of long stabby weapon. Just because I did do a little bit of bow staff in middle school because I thought I was cool, and I was. And so I guess that would translate the most well into a spear-like weapon.
You ever unscrew a broom handle?
I actually have a spearhead that you can screw onto the broom handle.
How come I never knew this?
Oh, because I lost it. In the mini of my moves. So it's somewhere in a box. Which is a horrifying thing to say now that I think about it.
Oh, well, that's a weapon sheathed away for another day. And speaking of that, well, maybe we should go ahead and discuss what we're going to do next.
So,
because the show ain't over yet.
The show ain't over yet. The next show we're going to be watching, I'm going to try and pronounce it, is called Hokago no Pleiades, which was made as an animation for the car company Subaru. And it is a 12-episode show. And I believe it is a magical girl show.
Yeah, there's no question on this one.
Okay, so we're going to watch that next because it's made by a car company. And boy, am I excited for it. All right. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. If you like what you heard here, please go check out some of our older stuff. We might trash on a show you like, and we're sorry, but you might agree with us. If you like us, please like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. It really makes my day feel better because I'm the one that checks the comments and I'm the one that checks everything, and it makes me get a little of that serotonin and a little bit of dopamine, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm making stuff and people are listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are our stage,
but we are the top stars. But we're not your dads.
また飛び入りですね。わかります。